Dear students, good morning. Today we shall see the major trends in 20th century language teaching. An overview of key language teaching innovations throughout the 1900s. Well, I'm Dr. Joy Christina, Research Supervisor and Assistant Professor, Department of English, Sacred Art College. Now, in the first place, we shall see grammar translation method. This method is rooted in classical language teaching. The grammar translation method focus on grammar rules and translation exercises. This also emphasizes on written language over speech. Here, grammar translation method, it focuses towards accuracy, prioritized more than fluency. So, a less emphasis is given on fluency, but more importance is given to the written language, because we make the learners to learn all the grammar rules thoroughly, and also we make the learners to do a number of exercises to become thorough with the grammar rules. Once a learner becomes thorough with grammar rules, they will not commit mistakes in written language. Next, we shall see the direct method. So first we saw grammar translation method. Next, we are seeing direct method. This method was introduced to promote oral communication. And in this direct method, teaching is conducted exclusively in the target language. The direct method is inductive teaching of grammar. This focuses on everyday vocabulary and dialogues. My dear students, kindly let me go through this direct method once again. This method very specifically promotes, dear students, very specifically in direct method is involved to promote the oral communication, because oral communication is very much necessary to communicate in our day-to-day life. And also this direct method is conducted exclusively or specifically for the target language. So direct method is conducted exclusively for the target language, and we all understand, especially the learners, we understand that a target language is English language. This direct method very inductively is teaching of the grammar. This also focus on everyday vocabulary. Whatever we use in day-to-day life, those vocabularies are emphasized in this method. And not only that, the simple dialogues we use in our daily life is also focused in the direct method. So my dear learners, first we saw grammar translation method. The second one is direct method, and the third one is audiolingual method. This method influenced by behaviorist psychology and structural linguistics. So, the pattern here is how the learner behaves and how their psychology works out in the structural linguistics, that is, in learning the language. This audiolingual method is emphasizes on pattern drills and habit formation. So, what happens here is a strong emphasis is given on a number of drills. So, the students undergo the exercise rigorously in a particular streaming, and these kind of drills help the students to learn the language effectively and also thoroughly. Another particular point is habit formation. Here, the learner's habit is completely changed and focuses towards continuous drills being given. For example, listening and speaking before reading and writing. So, listening skill is practiced. So, to listen, number of exercise are patterned, and the learners continuously listen to small conversation, then move on to learning the vocabulary, phrases, and other things. So, continuously they learn. So, such kind of drills are given, and also speaking is emphasized here. So, the first part is listening, and the second one is speaking. They start to speak out small vocabularies and then move on to. So, listening and speaking are given importance before reading and writing. So, audio means just listening, okay, or listening to a kind of without video, the language would be played and the learners would be listening. So, as they listen continuously, this drill enables the learners to speak, and then they go on to the reading skill and finally to the writing skill. So, this is the important uh, objective of the audiolingual method. Then we have repetition and memorization essential techniques. So this kind of audiolingual means immediately we have to think about repetition and memorizing essential techniques. Next we move on to cognitive code learning. Cognitive is nothing but thinking. So reaction against audiolingual method. Language learning seen as a rule governed cognitive process. So, in language learning, what happens? A cognitive, that is, a thinking capacity, is ruled and it's a kind of process. Here, greater focus on understanding linguistic structures is given. So, in the cognitive code learning, we give more focus to understand the linguistic structures. That is, to understand the formation of how the language is patterned. Next, this encourages meaningful practice, not just drilling. So, one thing, my dear learners, we should understand that practice is not simply practicing. It should not be just drilling out writing or listening continuously. It should be meaningful. That is, the learner must be able to comprehend what they listen. Without comprehension, without comprehending or without understanding the meaning, it will be useless, or it shall be simply a drill activity. Next, we have CLT. We call it as communicative language teaching. In future classes, we will be seeing the CLT as another important area of learning. Today, we shall see in a shallow manner. Focus on real life communication, because Here, fluency is prioritized along with accuracy. So, two things are very important. Fluency is given importance. Second one is accuracy. So, the learners have to speak fluently, and also they have to speak accurately without making mistake. So this is what is followed in CLT. And use of authentic materials and interactive task. So here we use materials which are authenticated, and also we give interactive tasks to the learners. So it is not an idle task. So every learner have to interact. So CLT is based on that. And also here we find the emphasis is given on functional language use. So for example, I could say, like, for example, you are making a request. So in request, what kind of functional language we use? Can you? Could you? Would you mind? Do you mind? So this kind of emphasis could be given. In the next part, we see natural approach. So natural approach, we all know Kashan's theory we follow here. This focuses on language acquisition over conscious learning. So this is a natural approach. Kashan has told about the theory that how a learner acquire the learning, acquire the language, or acquire the learning. This is over the conscious learning. And the next point is comprehensible input to central to learning is given. So the input should be comprehensible, understandable. Then low anxiety classroom environment. Nobody is very anxious, but appealing environment is created in the classroom. Speech emerges naturally after sufficient listening. So, my dear learners, we have to understand one thing here. Slowly, the learners start to speak when after listening for sufficient time. Slowly, they start to speak in the target language, that is in English language. Next, we see the task based language teaching. This is, we call it as TBLT. Language learned through meaningful tasks. So, here in this method, task is given directly to the learner. Okay? And the task should be meaningful. These tasks reflect real world language use. So, what we practice or what we need to use in the day to day life, in the real life situation. So, real world language is used in the task. For example, if we take a classroom and the language teacher is teaching about nouns, all the objects, the people in the class could be pointed out as nouns. So that is real time or real world activity. We make the learner by seeing what is available in the classroom. Next is focus on communication, problem solving, and collaboration. Then finally, we make assessment based on task outcomes. So once we give the task, and once we teach and give the task, and finally we evaluate the task outcomes. Next is the post method era. This acknowledges limitations of fixed teaching methods. Here, this method emphasizes in the post method, this era uh, emphasizes teacher autonomy and context sensitive pedagogy. So the teacher takes up the freedom and focuses towards the context, very sensitive to the pedagogy. Blended and adaptive approaches are engaged. Integrates technological advancements in learning. So teacher takes the autonomy and use technological advancements in learning. The key shifts in 20th century language teaching is shift from form focused to communication focused teaching, and growing recognition of learner needs the context. rise of cognitive and socio-linguistic perspectives, and integration of technology and multimedia resources. So all these are being integrated in the modern method. And finally, in the conclusion, we see the 20th century method is transformed in language teaching, movement toward communicative, learner-centered instruction. Modern methods blend earlier insights with new research. Ongoing evaluation continues shaping global language education. So these contents are taken from Richards and Rogers, uh, and also from the book called Approaches and Methods in Language Teaching, and another book called Larson Freeman, Principles in Language Teaching, and Brown HD, Principles of Language Learning and Teaching. Dear students, for better understanding, go through the video once again. You will understand it very smartly. Thank you very much for your listening. We shall meet in the next session.